Reflections of the Soul: How Our Relationships Reveal Our Shadow. Greetings, dear friends. You can read hundreds of psychology books, watch thousands of videos about self-discovery, and even repeat affirmations about self-acceptance in front of the mirror every day. But if one key idea remains misunderstood, all this self-work risks turning into an illusion. Today I'm not here to burden you with yet another theory. I'm here to share with you the real key, that very truth which the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung once discovered, and which modern neurobiologist Alan Shore has supplemented with scientific evidence. This truth can forever change your relationship with yourself and with the world around you. If you're watching this video, it means that deep inside, you already feel there is something more. Something that isn't just about accepting your shadow or learning to balance energies. It's about how to truly apply these ideas in practice so they work in your real life. Imagine for a moment an amazing truth. Every person you meet in your life is a mirror. Everything that attracts or repels you in others is a direct reflection of what within yourself hasn't yet found resolution or acknowledgement. Remember the last person who evoked strong emotions in you, whether love, admiration, irritation, or even anger. This person isn't just a figure in your life. They are a mirror showing you deep parts of yourself. Why are you attracted to certain people? Why do some traits in others cause you discomfort? Why do you repeatedly gravitate toward those who make you feel insecure? Perhaps inside you lives a part that needs recognition and care? Or, conversely, you're irritated by qualities that you don't allow yourself to express. As Alan Shore would say, our most intense emotional reactions are not so much reactions to another person, as they are activation of our own internal attachment system. Ask yourself an important question. What is this person showing me about myself? It's not by chance that you're attracted to or repelled by certain types of people. It's not a coincidence that you, experiencing a strong emotional reaction to someone, repeatedly meet people with the same qualities. As Jung would say, this is your own shadow that you project onto the external world. If you admire someone, analyze. What qualities in them evoke your admiration? These are possibly the very aspects that you haven't yet allowed yourself to reveal. Are you in awe of someone's freedom and lightness? Perhaps because you hold yourself too tightly within boundaries. Do you like confident people? Perhaps because you don't give yourself permission to express your own strength. Now think about those who irritate you. What exactly in their behavior triggers a reaction in you? Perhaps you don't like someone's arrogance, but deep down you fear your own power and success. Or you're annoyed by people who put themselves first because you're used to putting others above yourself and can't change this. Acknowledging this means beginning the path to healing. Remember that just as others reflect parts of you, you are a mirror for them. Realizing this, you find a different relationship to life and interactions. You understand that when someone reacts to you with irritation, criticism, or even aggression, they are actually confronting not you, but that part of themselves they cannot accept. This frees you from the need to take everything personally. Instead of automatic defense, you gain the opportunity to respond not to their words or actions but to what lies behind them. As Alan Shore expressed, emotion regulation begins with co-regulation. We learn to calm our emotions through relationships with others. But self-work is not just about observing others' reactions. It's also about transforming your own patterns. Awareness is just the first step, and the key task is learning to integrate those aspects of yourself that you previously rejected or didn't notice. When you begin this process, your relationships restructure naturally. You no longer need to exert effort to change something in the external world. The world begins to change itself because you've changed inside. However, don't expect an instant result. Integration is a journey, not a leap. Approach it with curiosity, like a scientist studying your own inner world. The more you observe your emotional reactions without judgment, the easier it becomes to recognize their origins. Over time, you'll see that people who used to evoke a storm of emotions in you no longer have power over you. They'll stop triggering your old wounds because these wounds no longer exist. And here's what's interesting. As soon as you stop projecting your unhealed parts onto others, your relationships begin to build on an entirely different foundation. You stop attracting people who reflect your pain, and instead begin to surround yourself with those who resonate with your wholeness. These are no longer relationships born of need, not attempts to fill an inner emptiness with someone from outside. This is a connection between two whole people who can walk together, not because of dependency, but because of choice. Alan Shore asserts, healthy attachment is not dependence, but interpersonal resonance, where two independent beings create something greater than just the sum of their parts. Now, the most important thing, the part of you that you reject is the same part that sabotages your ability to love and be loved. You cannot build deep relationships if you have unaccepted aspects that you hide even from yourself. Remember what you dislike most about yourself. What traits do you feel ashamed of or suppress? This is your shadow. For example, if you're irritated by someone else's arrogance, think, perhaps you yourself are afraid of being perceived as arrogant and therefore try excessively to appear modest. Or if you constantly encounter people who devalue you, perhaps this reflects your own inner uncertainty about your worth. Until you integrate these parts, they will continue to appear in your life in the form of projections onto other people. But the shadow is not only your fears, complexes, or weaknesses, it's also your unrealized talents, suppressed strength, and stifled creativity. If you once told yourself this is not for me or I'm not good enough for this, perhaps that's where your hidden gifts are concealed. By denying them, you create an internal conflict that prevents you from fully blossoming. But as soon as you begin to accept everything in yourself, both light and shadow, you stop seeking love externally. You become love itself. And when you find this love within yourself, different connections with others become inevitable, because now you're not looking for someone to fill your gaps. You attract those who resonate with your wholeness. This is the essence of deep, harmonious relationships. Not holding on to someone out of fear of being alone, but walking alongside, aware of your own fullness. This inner fragmentation makes us search in others for what we reject in ourselves. We journey through a labyrinth of our own projections, not realizing that each person we meet is our mirror. Every time you experience strong irritation, criticism, or judgment toward someone, know that before you is not just a person, but a reflection of a part of you that yearns for recognition. We don't get angry at others without reason. There's always something deeper behind it. Think about what qualities in people provoke especially sharp reactions in you. Perhaps you condemn those who show weakness because you're afraid to show your own vulnerability. Or you dislike people who crave recognition because deep inside, you don't allow yourself to openly claim your achievements. These aren't coincidences, they're valuable clues. The keys to self-knowledge are hidden in our strongest reactions. This mechanism is especially vivid in romantic relationships. We're attracted to people who live the part of us that we hide. If you admire someone who easily takes leadership, perhaps your own inner strength has been suppressed. If you invariably find yourself in relationships where your partner needs saving, perhaps this is a way of projecting onto others your own unconscious need for care and acceptance. But if these mechanisms remain in the shadow, they can lead to sabotaging relationships. Imagine that you fear being abandoned. Instead of recognizing and working through this fear, you unconsciously begin to push people away first, not giving them a chance to get close. Or you fear loss of freedom and therefore resist any attempts by your partner to get closer, even if these are absolutely innocent gestures of care. These scenarios seem random, but they are actually defense mechanisms that your shadow uses to protect you from pain. Integrating your shadow is a bold step toward wholeness. It requires the willingness to see your hidden sides without self-judgment. The next time you feel a sharp rejection of some quality in another person, ask yourself, where does this live in me? This is not a reason for guilt, but a chance to know yourself deeper. Another important step is to allow yourself to express suppressed aspects in safe conditions. If you've suppressed your creative side all your life, find a place where you can give it freedom. If you've denied your need for closeness, start trusting people who deserve it. When you give yourself the right to be whole, all these rejected parts stop being your hidden enemies and become sources of strength. One powerful way to work with the shadow is to write to it. Write to it as if it were a letter to an old friend. Thank it for trying to protect you and say that now you're ready to accept it as part of yourself. This inner dialogue can initiate a process of reconciliation that will change not only your relationship with yourself, but all your relationships with others. The most amazing paradox is that by accepting your darkest sides, you become lighter, freer. The more you allow yourself to be yourself without masks and suppression, the brighter your energy, the deeper your connections. People are drawn to authenticity because in a world full of illusions, it's the rarest and most valuable thing. When two people meet, no longer trying to fill voids in each other but coming as whole individuals, that's when the strongest, deepest, and most sincere relationships are born. You no longer seek salvation in another person because you found it within yourself. You no longer project your fears and insecurities onto your partner because you've accepted and transformed them. Instead of fighting for attention or recognition, you begin to live from a state of abundance where love is not dependence, but a natural extension of your wholeness. And it's in this state that you find real, authentic love, first for yourself and then for another person. Relationships are not just comfort and joy, they are a territory of growth, a mirror reflecting our deepest fears, wounds, and unconscious beliefs. Each conflict, each pain is not just a coincidence or someone's fault, but an opportunity to look inside yourself and understand why it happened. Until you see love not as the end goal, but as a path of self-discovery, you will again and again face the same lessons, just in new forms. Think about it. If in relationships you are constantly betrayed or controlled, this is not about an unfortunate coincidence. It's a sign of an old wound that requires healing. If it's vitally important for you that your partner gives you a sense of security, it means that deep down you don't feel safe yourself. But an important point, these feelings don't come from outside. They already live in you. Relationships just trigger mechanisms that help you recognize and transform them. When we perceive love only as a source of pleasure and emotional comfort, we devalue its power to transform us at the deepest level. In fact, relationships are the most intensive class in the University of Life. They highlight our vulnerabilities, help uncover deep beliefs and patterns that govern our actions. Look at your romantic history. Are there recurring scenarios? Maybe you repeatedly attract emotionally unavailable partners, or you're drawn to people who need to be saved. These patterns aren't random, but signals. They point to inner wounds that you either don't recognize or try to ignore. Alan Shore says, our early attachment relationships create neural pathways that become templates for all subsequent relationships. But thanks to neuroplasticity, we can change these pathways through new experiences. Attachment theory explains that our early childhood bonds form a relationship model that then repeats in adulthood. If in childhood you learned that love is unstable and unpredictable, in adult life you might unconsciously attract the same unstable relationships. This isn't because you enjoy suffering, but because the brain is drawn to the familiar, even if this familiar brings pain. But the good news is that awareness of these patterns is the first step to changing them. The real purpose of love is not just to make you happy, although happiness can be a wonderful side effect. It shouldn't be confused with the end goal. Love is needed to bring to light aspects of yourself that would otherwise remain in the shadow. It's in a deep connection with another person that your strongest fears, defense mechanisms, and hidden desires manifest. Love is not about finding the perfect person who will fix your life. It's a process of becoming a person who is capable of loving deeply, fearlessly, and consciously. As Alan Shore said, Love is not an abstract feeling but a biological necessity that shapes our neurobiology and creates the foundation for developing a healthy psyche. But true love requires awareness and integration of all parts of the personality, including those we would prefer not to see. Instead of focusing on who's right and who's wrong, try to see in each situation an opportunity for growth. Ask yourself, what is this situation telling me about myself? Your irritability due to some minor act of your partner may be hiding deeply buried pain or an unsatisfied need. Often the most painful moments in relationships are not messages about problems with another person, but indicators of our own unprocessed issues. These moments may be uncomfortable, but they can become the main keys to inner liberation. Our romantic attractions are also not random. They guide us to parts of ourselves that we have yet to integrate. If you're fascinated by someone's freedom, this may mean that you yourself crave more freedom in your life. If you're charmed by someone else's creative energy, perhaps there's an artist sleeping within you, afraid to emerge. Our strongest attractions are a kind of map leading to our hidden potential. Even a broken heart is not the end, but an opportunity for powerful inner transformation. When relationships end, you have two paths. You can blame your partner, fate, circumstances, and repeat the same scenario in the future. Or you can ask yourself an important question: what has this experience taught me? How can I become wiser because of it? It's precisely this choice that determines whether you'll turn into a person filled with resentment, or become stronger and more conscious. Mature love isn't built on finding the perfect partner, but on striving for mutual growth. In such relationships, each challenge becomes an opportunity for expanding consciousness, breaking old patterns, and healing emotional wounds. When you stop viewing love as a means to achieve happiness and start seeing it as a tool for transformation, satisfaction comes deeper and more sustainably. It no longer depends on perfect circumstances or the perfect person, but becomes a natural consequence of your inner development. The real shift begins when you stop saying, "Why do I always end up with such partners?" and replace it with the question, "Why do I choose these particular people?" This moment of awareness changes everything because it returns control to you. You're no longer a victim of fate or others' actions. You become the creator of your love story, a person who consciously chooses whom to let into your life and which patterns to break. However, accepting love as a path to personal growth requires courage. It demands honesty with yourself. You need to be ready to face uncomfortable truths, ask questions about deeply rooted beliefs, and possibly even abandon parts of your identity that no longer serve your well-being. This is a painful process, but it leads to incredible results. You begin to build relationships based not on the fear of loss, but on the freedom to be yourself. You stop looking for a partner to fill an inner emptiness, and instead find a person with whom you can share your fullness. Recurring relationship patterns are not a coincidence but the result of neurobiological processes. Alan Shore notes, "Our brain organizes experience based on previous interactions. This explains why we recreate similar dynamics again and again, even those that cause pain." If you tend to lose yourself in relationships, create rituals that will help you maintain a connection with yourself: personal time, hobbies, communication with friends. If you're attracted to people with narcissistic traits, clearly define what forms of behavior are unacceptable to you. Boundaries are not a wall that separates you from love, but a foundation on which healthy relationships are built. True change happens when you allow yourself to love healthy and open people. Alan Shore says, "Our capacity for emotional regulation and psychological health is directly related to the quality of our relationships." At first you may not be accustomed to this new taste of love. You may feel tempted to return to familiar chaos, to strong emotions that seem real. There will be moments of regression, desires to repeat old mistakes. But each time you recognize your pattern and make a different decision, you strengthen new neural pathways. The ultimate goal is not to create perfect relationships, but to achieve awareness that gives you freedom of choice. Once you stop being a hostage to your unconscious programs, you begin to build relationships that reflect your true self, not your old wounds. Love ceases to be a salvation or a deficit and becomes what you share from a state of wholeness. True love is not about seeking something outside, but expressing what is already within you. We're used to thinking that love is something that comes from the outside, that we must earn or find if we're lucky. We were taught to wait, hope, search. But the truth is that love is not a destination. But a path and a state of being. It's not something external that needs to be found, but something that you cultivate within yourself and then share with the world around you. When you find genuine love for yourself, accepting and integrating all aspects of your personality, including the shadow, you begin to radiate this state naturally. You become not an empty vessel desperately seeking to be filled from outside, but a source from which love flows freely. In this state of wholeness, your relationships transform. You no longer choose partners to fill a void or heal old wounds. You don't create connections based on dependency, fear, or projections. Instead, you attract relationships that reflect your inner harmony and contribute to further growth. As Alan Shore says, when we stop perceiving love as a solution to a problem and begin to see it as an expression of our essence, we free ourselves from cyclical patterns of searching and disappointment. This revolutionary understanding changes everything. Instead of desperately searching for the right person who will make you happy, you direct your energy toward becoming a whole person capable of true love, first to yourself and then to others. And the paradox is that precisely when you stop craving love from outside, you become capable of receiving it most fully. When love is no longer a desperate need, it becomes a free and joyful expression of who you are.